All right, folks. Today is lesson 164, and the title is Now We Are One with Him, Who Is Our Source. And Wendy, you being Jewish, there's a lot of Christ in this lesson. So just change it to God or love.
I appreciate the shout out. I always do. No worries.
Yeah. All right. Would anybody like to read paragraph 1?
I can start.
Okay, go ahead.
What time but now can truth be recognized? The present is the only time there is. And so today, this instant, now, we come to look upon who is forever there, not in our sight, but in the eyes of Christ. He looks past time and sees eternity as represented there. He hears the sounds the senseless, busy world engenders him. He, 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 he hears them faintly, for beyond them all he hears the song of heaven and the voice for God, more clear, more meaningful, more near.
Okay. In the Course in Miracles, there's the past, okay? There's the present, and there's the future, okay? And what the Course in Miracles says is that only the present is real. But you cannot experience, let me put my hand a little, you cannot experience the present moment if you're using the past in its place. So what happens is if you use the past and the ego's past programs, see my hand? This is the past. It goes like onto the present moment, right? So it obscures the present moment. So you never really see what's going on. You only see the past in the present moment's place. And then what happens is this is the future. And so that just keeps moving over to the future. So, and the future is really only the present moment. So there's present moment, present moment, present moment. But in linear time is present and future, and so it still covers it through the past. And so you see, all you're seeing in the present moment is your past programming. When you're stuck in judgment and anger and resentment and hatred and revenge and guilt and shame and fear and doubt, okay, that's showing you that you're bringing the past into and covering over the present moment. When you let go of the ego's mindset and tools, okay, this lifts the way. And then here in the true present moment, which the Course of Miracles calls the holy instant, this is where the peace and joy of God forever reside. So if you lift the past from the present moment, you always experience peace and joy and all of love's expressions. And then you just take that in each present moment through the rest of your life. So in sentence number 2, the present is the only time there is. Not in our sight, in sentence number 3, second part of it. Not in our sight, aka not in the ego's sight, but in the eyes of Christ, aka in the eyes of truth. He looks past time and sees eternity as represented there. He looks past time, which is the ego's judgment-centric mindset, and he sees eternity. He sees only the truth in us as true. And so here, the Course is asking you to try to see through the lens of Christ, the lens of God, the lens of love, instead of the lens of the ego, the lens of the past. And when we do so, and the title says, now we are one, or now, aka the present moment, are we one with him, with love, who is our source or our answer. Any questions or comments on paragraph 1? Either you guys understood it or you guys are asleep. It's one of those two. I'm going to say, go ahead.
I said you explained very clearly. We understand. That one wasn't hard.
Okay. Okay, paragraph 2 then. Would somebody like to read? All right, I shall then. Paragraph 2. The world fades easily away before his sight. Its sounds grow dim. A melody from far beyond the world increasingly is more and more distinct, an ancient call to which he gives an ancient answer. You will recognize them both, for they are but your answer to your Father's call to you. Christ answers for you, echoing yourself, using your voice to give his glad consent, accepting your deliverance for you. Okay, the first sentence. The world fades easily away before his sight. And so all that is that when it talks about the world, it means the ego's world. So whatever the ego's world is supporting, whatever judgment-centric, fear-based thoughts it's supporting, it all fades away before his sight, before love's sight. So when you're seeing the world through love's lens, the ego's mindset and world disappears and disperses away. When you're seeing the world through the light of God, the darkness disappears and fades away.
James, is the reason that self is capitalized there because that's like talking about our true self, the self that is the eternal self?
Yes, it's the whole self, yeah, or true self, yeah, the one self.
Okay, can I ask you a question? I was thinking of it last night, but last night I was not in a mood, so I did not want to talk. But can I
Okay.
ask you a question? I know it was amazing for everybody that I wasn't speaking, but you know, tonight I'm back. Okay, my question is, my I have a niece who is severely developmentally challenged. She has Down syndrome and autism. And I don't know why, but I've been thinking about everything that I'm learning or whatever. And I'm like, does she have an ego? You know what I mean? Like she doesn't function maybe like a 3-year old. Like, you know what I mean? Does she have an ego?
Yes, we all have egos, yeah. It's kind of like the ego is just our past programming, how we've been taught to react to certain
Do
stimuli.
babies have egos?
Do babies have egos? I would imagine so, yeah. Because I mean, it depends. Okay, if you think that a baby is born and it's just pure love, then no, it doesn't have an ego. But you know, a baby has certain emotions that can be said as being something other than love. And so if the little babies believe that is true about them, then they have little egos.
Does my dog have an ego?
I was going to ask that to Samir. Thank you for asking.
It probably does, yes. It's not very attached to it, but you know, every now and then a dog misbehaves.
Well, he thinks he's a pit bull. He goes and barks at these big dogs, like they're like 5 times his size. Like he's gonna take him off.
Yeah. All right. Any comments or questions in the paragraph 2? Again, here it says sentence number 5, Christ answers for you, echoing yourself, using your voice to give his glad consent, accepting your deliverance for you. And so it's just inviting you to see through the eyes of Christ, through the eyes of love, through the eyes of God. And it's inviting us to align with that sight. Because the title of the lesson again is Now We Are One with Him, who is our source. And so in each moment, the present, the holy instant, we are one with our source. And that's what we're practicing today. If no other comments or questions, then we can go to paragraph 3. Anybody?
I'll read paragraph 3.
Okay.
Um, how holy is your practicing today as Christ gives you his sight and hears for you and answers in your name the call he hears? How quiet is the time you give to spend with him beyond the world? How easily are all your seeming sins forgot and all your sorrows unremembered? On this day is grief laid by, for sights and sounds that come from nearer than the world are clear to you who will today accept the gifts he gives.
All right. Comments or questions in paragraph 3? Here, basically, again, Christ is inviting us to look through his eyes and hear with his ears. Because Christ and our highest self are in truth one. So when we're truly seeing the world, we're seeing through the eyes of Christ, or through the eyes of love. And when we're truly hearing everybody else through Christ's ears, through love's ears, then that's a place where you hear and you listen without judgment and without condemnation, and you just listen to your brother's love or call for love. Any other comments or questions? And sentence number 3. How easily are all your seeming sins forgot and all your sorrows unremembered? And so again, there's only 2 ways you can choose to see the world: through love's lens or through the ego's lens. When you choose to see the world through love's lens, then you go to paragraph 3, sentence 3. When you see through love's lens, how easily are all your seeming sins forgot? And so because you're seeing through God's lens, you're seeing through the lens of mercy and grace. And when you see through the lens of mercy and grace, or all sins, mistakes are forgiven and released, and all sorrows unremembered, and all grief is laid aside. You guys have any grief? Wendy, did you have any grief yesterday?
Yeah,
Yes.
my daughter,
Okay.
ready to throw her out of the house.
All right. Well,
I'm
you go ahead.
working on laying it aside, trying to work this program.
Yeah, and you always want to make a decision from a place of peace. So you always want to try to do whatever peace would have you do, and sometimes peace would tell you to have your daughter leave your house.
Well, that's what I was thinking about. And I didn't know if like my ego is messing with me or not, but I kept thinking that. Like I'm never gonna have peace until she leaves this house. That's what I was thinking when she's out of this house. I wish she could just move like right down the street. Just be down the street. Let me check on you every day. Let me make sure you're okay. Just do not be in my house. Just close by, but not with me. That's what I would do with the money, by the way, if I had it. But just buy her a place nearby. But anyway, I'm volunteering to read the next paragraph.
Okay, go ahead.
And I also want to say, because I think Nori's here. Nori had recommended to me a book called Disappearance of the Universe.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
reading that, it's Course in Miracles. It's Jesus visited, well, actually not Jesus. It was 2 ascended masters, one of which was supposed to be the guy, the Thomas, who wrote the Doubting Thomas Gospel. And they're coming, they talk about the Course in Miracles. Like that's the whole thing. They said that this is the book that was, that Jesus is what Jesus wanted everybody to understand. So it goes right along with this. But here's the thing that I just read that's blowing my mind. Do you know that the Course in Miracles is mostly written in iambic pentameter like Shakespeare?
Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah.
Anyway, okay. I will go for now.
Okay.
There is a silence into which the world cannot intrude. There is an ancient peace you carry in your heart and have not lost. There is a sense of holiness in you. The thought of sin has never touched. All this today you will remember. Faithfulness in practicing today will bring rewards so great and so completely different from all things you sought before, that you will know that here your treasure is, and here your rest. This is probably my whole favorite paragraph that I've ever read in here so far.
And why is that?
Oh, because the promise of it is very beautiful. Starting with the ancient peace you carry and have not lost. And a silence into which the world cannot intrude. I'm normally not that fond of silence, but when I read it, I want it.
Yeah, and you want to remember that peace, that choice for peace is always one choice away. The decision for peace, no matter how complicated the ego makes the story look, you're always just one choice away from the state of peace, from that silence where the world cannot intrude. And ways to get there is by trusting, first by forgiveness, because the way to release yourself from the ego's illusions is through the act of forgiveness, which the Course in Miracles calls the last illusion, because it releases you from all other illusions. And another tool is to trust in the divine, and that trust in whatever is going on for your good. It's going on to help you heal, grow, and awaken. And so there's tools that help you do what the title is asking us to do, to recall that we're one with our source. We're one with love, who is our source. And so today's practice is choosing love over fear, choosing non-judgment over judgment, choosing compassion over condemnation, and choosing peace over pain. And that's the choice that we make in the holy instant, in the now. In the now, you always have that choice. You have the choice to be guided by God, or you have the choice to be guided by the ego. You have the choice to be guided by love, or you have the choice to be guided by fear. And in every moment, consciously or not, you make that choice. And so however it is that you're experiencing your day, it's going to show you whose guidance you're following. And so if you're experiencing judgment and anger and resentment and hate and pain and regret, then you're allowing the ego to think for you. You're following the ego's advice, and thus you're not one with him who is your source. But if you're experiencing forgiveness, compassion, mercy, grace, understanding, then you're thinking along with God. And that's what you're here to do. You're here to align your mind with the mind of God and offer that love to your brothers and sisters in whichever way they seem to be requesting it.
James,
Yes.
you know how I always remember you saying that to remember that we're worthy of God's peace. We're worthy of peace. Does it say that in the book, or do you just say that?
Well, I'm not exactly sure where it says it in the book. I'm sure it says it somewhere in the book. But you have to, I can't give you a quote where it says this. I mean, whatever I received is probably from the book. So all you have to remember is this. Okay, God is love, right? And so love is your father, your true father, and your true creator, right? So whatever inheritance love has, whatever expressions and reflections of love, those are your inheritance. And so what are reflections and expressions of love? Well, peace, joy, compassion, kindness, charity, healing, hope. Any expression of love, that's your inheritance. And so peace is your inheritance as God's child in creation. And so you're forever worthy of peace. But the Course says that you need only a little willingness. You have to be willing to accept your inheritance to make it yours. And so in the end, you have that free will. You can accept God's inheritance of peace through the acts of non-judgment, forgiveness, compassion, or you can reject your inheritance through the acts of judgment and anger and resentment and guilt and shame. And so, yes, peace is your inheritance. And peace is everybody's inheritance. Does that explain a little bit what you were looking for?
It does. I just thought anything that starts, there's the more important than anything else to me is there's something in that word worthy, that I am worthy of this.
Yeah.
That sort of is more powerful than almost anything else because it negates shame. And it, it's like it I don't know. That idea fills me with peace, that I'm worthy of it.
Yeah. Yeah, and all you have to remember is God created you to be a light in the world. And so God needs you to accept your inheritance. And God needs you to remember that you're worthy of your inheritance. Because if you think you're unworthy of your inheritance, then you will not use it, and you will not experience it, and you will not share it, and you will not enjoy it. But all you have to do is remember what you have forgotten. Remember that you're truly worthy of all of love's gifts, all of your Father's gifts. And so you're worthy of peace. You're worthy of joy and compassion and kindness and charity and joy and healing and hope and mercy and grace. All those are your inheritance. And you don't have to do anything to enjoy your inheritance other than to accept your inheritance. And so whenever you're denying your inheritance to you, just remember that what's happening is that the ego is in control of your mind and thinking. The ego is saying that you're not worthy of your inheritance. And so all you have to do is take back control of your mind from the ego. Okay, the ego, I don't have peace right now. Okay, that means that the ego is thinking for me. The ego is trying to take my inheritance of peace from me. But my inheritance was given to me by God, and therefore I will always have it. And it will always be just a choice away. And so all I have to do is be willing to accept my inheritance. And you accept your inheritance by choosing to offer it to all others. You cannot deny your inheritance to your brothers and sisters and still experience it yourself. And so if you're not experiencing peace, then practice offering peace to your brothers and sisters. And then little by little, you'll say, you know what? Yeah, I guess I am worthy of peace. Any other comments or questions?
I have this actually underlined. I loved, there's an ancient peace you carry in your heart and have not lost. Because for me, it's just such a statement that I can't lose it. Like, and it's so much of what we say in class and what you always say. And like, there's nothing I can do, even though I think that there are things that I can do that separate me from God. Like, God's always there. Like, it's always okay. And I'm the one that senses a separation, but I can never lose it. And to me, that's such like an affirming statement. Like, it's such a powerful statement that reminds me that no matter what's going on in the world, I carry this and it will never be lost. I have to just reconnect with it. So to me, that's super comforting. And when you were reading it, Wendy, I was just like, oh my gosh, this paragraph is for you. It was exactly the perfect paragraph that you needed to read.
You are very right. I did need to read that. And I told you, I think it's one of my favorite things that I have come across thus far.
Yeah, so I'm sorry.
I was say the remembering part is so hard when you're struggling. Do you know what I mean? Like that's what I'm finding difficult because I've been trying to practice for a long time, but when I'm in conflict with my daughter, or the other day I woke up and I just felt very dark for a lot of the day. It's so hard to get around that, to try to remember. I remember it later. I remember it when I'm feeling good, but I don't usually remember it when I'm in the pit. And I don't know if everybody else is like that. So I just this is what I prayed for when I was trying to meditate or whatever. I just said, make a space before I do something, before I say something, when I'm in a dark place, make a space for me to have a choice. So I feel like I have a choice. I can choose right to remember, because most of the time if it's, I still have a hard time finding the space. I think about it later, and then I usually feel bad, because I'm like, well, one more time where you didn't, stop that boulder that was coming at you. You could have stepped out of the way and you just let it splat you instead. So sometimes I feel I actually make it worse, because not only do I not remember in the moment to remember, but then afterwards I feel bad that I didn't remember and I'm supposed to be practicing, and it, so I don't know. Is there some kind of tip or trick to, in the moment, when you're at a level 10 instead of a nice calm level 3? Is there a way to pull yourself out when you're not so that you're not totally identified with the ego in that moment, is what I'm asking. Because I always want to do better. I always do. But I get tired of like apologizing and forgiving myself later, and whatever. I want to do it in the moment.
Yeah, and only in the moment exists, right? So in the moment, you can give your time, focus, and energy to the delusion, and thus fall deeper into the pit, or you can give your time, focus, and energy towards the light, and start moving away from that darkness. And so, no matter how dark or challenging that moment appears to be, you're always just a choice away from the light. It's just that the ego tries to attach you and chain you to its delusion. And so the more you struggle, the more you sink into its quicksand.
But I
Okay?
would not be struggling. I don't have the chance to struggle, because you only have choice when you perceive it. And what I'm saying is, oftentimes it's a little better than it used to be, but I still feel like I don't perceive it when I'm in the moment, because I fully identified with the ego. And I'm trying to think if there's a way to have some kind of alarm go off in my head to tell me you have a choice now. I want the choice. Even if I make the wrong choice, I want to perceive the choice.
Well, if you're not at peace, then you're not in control of your mind and thinking. And so the choice is, I can have peace instead of this. And so you can remove yourself from the illusion in any moment, but you have to make the choice for peace, the choice for love, for compassion. You have to make that choice in that moment. And you're not that far away from it. Whenever you're not here to be the darkness or add to the darkness. So anytime you're in the darkness, let that act of being in the darkness be a trigger to you that you don't belong there, that you belong in the light. So when you're stuck in your judgments, okay, you don't sink deeper into the judgment. You say, okay, I'm judging right now. Therefore, let this be a trigger to me to practice forgiveness. Or I'm condemning myself or others for thinking that I'm less than spiritual. Let this be a trigger for me to practice being more compassionate with myself and trusting in the divine design. Or I'm anxious and doubtful and fearful. Okay, let me use this moment right now, because I know I don't belong in this darkness, to practice trusting God more. And so you just have to take action. When you're in the darkness, choose the opposite of what your mind is focused on. And it's really as simple as that. You just have to practice choosing the opposite of what you don't want.
And I want to share also, like what James said, in taking action and the fact that you can even see it. And this kind of ties to what we were saying yesterday, like that when you start to have awareness and then you start to have more space in that awareness, that you can start to take action. And I'm kind of laughing at myself right now because I'm looking around my apartment and I have post-its, I have lipstick on my mirrors, I have like all these like messages all over my apartment that are just reminding me that I am lovable, that I can do it, that I can choose, that like all of these messages like everywhere. Like if someone were to come into my house right now, they'd probably think I'm a mad woman, you know? And listening to you, I'm just reminded that like it does take work. Like my house reflects to me the work that I choose to do daily, and I fall short all the time. But it's learning the tools that work for you so that you're constantly immersed in this. And for me, I have to have a complete immersion. Like I am always like seeing things, reading things, listening to things. Like I'm always trying to connect with God in some way, shape, or form with whatever works for me, because if not, I do fall into that. And this is how I feel like I've been able to build those muscles, by always being immersed in like whatever it is that I can immerse myself in, whether it's like music, like spiritual music, uplifting music, like all this stuff all over my house. You know, changing your physiology, going for a walk before you have those conversations, if you're even able to pause. I bought a mini trampoline. It's in the middle of my living room. I jump on it. You know, like I have stuff like everywhere trying to get myself better. And I share that because I think it can appear sometimes that everyone has it together, and it takes effort. At least for me, it takes effort for me to be centered. It takes effort and time and willingness to show up to my practice, to show up to my relationship with God, so I can go out into the world and try to be sane, you know, as things are coming at me. And you have been coming, and you do have the willingness. And so just being patient with the process, and even to hear from when you first came into where you are now, I mean, you're not where you were, you know, even though you're not where you want to be. So thank you for sharing. I like it when you talk, by the way. It was too silent yesterday.
Oh, Christina, you're so lovely. Actually, I am starting to like, you know, like with these groups, no matter how bad I feel, I'm like, well, I feel like an alcoholic. You better get yourself to a meeting. That's literally what I tell myself. You better get yourself to a meeting, because you're not doing this well on your own right now. You need to hear everybody else. And that's, you know, that's why I've joined so many. I keep showing up to all these groups for that, because I feel like even if I feel resistant, which the meditation share in my room has continued its winning streak of my behind not being in it. However, I look at it every day and I'm like, you better meditate. So I'll do it in bed. I still refuse to sit in the chair. I cannot tell you why. I don't know if my ego is fighting me. I don't know what that is. I recognize the resistance, but I'm like, all right, I'll just lie in bed and you know, until and just do something with it. But the groups make me feel like I'm accomplishing something, even if I do not meet my own, you know, desire for stopping something before it gets too bad. So I thank all of you, actually. And
And
Christina,
even,
lovely
oh,
lady.
sorry, continue.
Complimenting you. You're just shine. Wherever you are, you shine. Go ahead.
Thank you for saying that. But again, like it's a lot of effort. It's not just like, oh, shine. It's like I really do put the time, and it doesn't come naturally. It comes with effort. And so I say that because with your willingness and the efforts that you're making, you too will shine, and you do shine, and you will continue to shine. And even with the meditation, I mean, I do silent meditation, I do meditation with just like music, but sometimes I default to guided meditation because I have my monkey brain going and I can't sit in silence, and I'm not willing to sit in silence. Um, and so I do a guided meditation. So I think it's also just finding different things that will work for you at different times. Or even what not Maribel, Marisol has been putting with like the recorded Course in Miracles, like even just sitting and listening to that, you know, I don't think that there's just one way that works. I think that there's many different ways. Guided meditations when I don't want to sit in silence are really beautiful as well.
Yeah, practice using those moments when you're in the darkness to invite the light in. Okay, because a lot of times the ego would have you sit in the darkness and tell you that you're in the darkness because that's what you're worthy of. Okay, and so you get stuck walking towards the darkness. deeper and deeper into it. And so if you're in the darkness, you're just allowing the ego to think for you and run your life for you. And so you want to do the opposite. Okay, the ego is trying to keep me stuck in the darkness. Let me use the ego, not to go deeper into that darkness, but to trigger in me the decision to do the opposite of what it demands. And so, okay, the ego is demanding more darkness. Guess what? You go and choose and ask the light to come in. You invite the light to come in. You close your eyes. You breathe in the light. You breathe out the darkness. You breathe in the light. You breathe out the darkness. You breathe in gratitude and appreciation to God for your health, for your family and friends. And you breathe out all your stresses and worries about them or yourself. And just keep on cleansing yourself from the delusion and remembering that you're always worthy of peace and you're always worthy of joy. But you have to make the conscious decision. The Course just asks you for a little willingness to decide to choose the light over the darkness, a little willingness not to remain in the darkness. That's all the Course is asking you to do. And guess what? The more you practice it, the easier it becomes.
Well, I can testify that that is true. And one of the best lines came from recently that helped me get unstuck, because it said, if you're unable to do anything else, then just say that you are unhappy with the fact that you aren't at peace, that you're recognizing that you're not at peace and you don't like being in this place. So I thought, well, however low I ever get in darkness, I can always say that. I could certainly always say I'm unhappy, not be peaceful. And I do want to say that I was successful in that day that I woke up feeling very dark, and I still don't know why. There was nothing attached to it. Only part of the day stayed like that. I did exactly what you said. I took myself outside to my patio, that blue couch that I have out there. I laid down on it. I looked up at the sky. I was watching the clouds. I meditated a little bit. I totally, made myself available for change. And it took me like an hour and a half or something, but when I got back up, I felt fine. So that was huge for me.
Try this book. This is a good book.
Hold on, I have to screenshot. Can you text it to me? I can't screenshot it while I'm watching this, I don't think. What is
I
it?
love that book. It's so good.
What is it called? What is it called? I'll write it down the name. Say it again, Samir. What is
The
it?
surrender experience. The surrender experiment.
The Surrender Experiment. All right, I'm writing it down. You guys have given me very good book recommendations. Okay, I got it. I don't want you to think I feel like I've presented it like that, just I'm not doing well or whatever. That's not what happened. I had some incidents, but I do feel like I'm doing certainly better than I was when I first started going there, when I was like looking towards a nervous breakdown. So I think I'm doing great comparatively.
Good. All right. Do you want to read number 5?
Who are you talking to?
You, Wendy.
Oh, yes, I would be happy to. This is the day when vain imaginings part like a curtain to reveal what lies beyond them. Now is what is really there made visible, while all the shadows, which appeared to hide it, merely sink away. Now is the balance righted, and the scale of judgment left to him who judges true. And in his judgment will a world unfold in perfect innocence before your eyes. Now will you see it with the eyes of God. I'm just replacing.
That's okay.
Now is transformation clear to you. That's a beautiful one too.
Yeah. Yeah. So whenever you're feeling stuck, ask to see through the eyes of God, through the eyes of love. I would love to see my situation right now. What would love invite me to do right now? And do whatever love would have you do. Love would have you go to that special place outside your house and meditate and breathe. And so you always have a choice, and the choice is simply always between the darkness and the light. And you're worthy of the light, because the light is your true father. And so always remember, even no matter what story the ego throws your way that sinks you into the darkness, you're always just one choice away from being in alignment with the mind of God, being in alignment with the light in you. Yeah, so this number 2, why all the shadows, that's all our delusions, appear to hide, it merely sinks away. And so when you choose the light, when you choose forgiveness over judgment, compassion over condemnation, love over fear, the shadows dissipate and the light shines through. And sentence number 4, and in his judgment will a world unfold in perfect innocence before your eyes. And then so when you see through the eyes of love, you see only love as real and true. And only the love in you is true. Comments or questions? All right, I'll go to number 6.
Wait,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
there's something in that paragraph that reminded me of this part of a psalm that I love. And it's interesting to me because of the word shadow. So in this book, shadows are represented as sort of like the ignorance and darkness and fear and things like that. But in this psalm, it says that you find refuge in the shadow of his wings. The psalm that I love. And so I don't know, I'm a word person, and I know words are symbols of other symbols and all of that stuff. But truly, I, to me, I'm like thinking, is this how God shows us that darkness, that anything that is of God cannot be darkness? It's got to be beautiful. And if you're resting in the shadow of his wings, of course, that's the dove imagery. I don't know. I just thinking about that. Like, is that a transformation of darkness? Because God's shadow is a beautiful place to rest.
Yeah, I guess maybe you know how when you are walking in Miami and you find a nice tree and a shade, and then even though the sun is beautiful, you appreciate the shade of the tree, and so you can appreciate even in the shadows. You can appreciate that God is there for you to comfort you. All right, paragraph 6, brother. This day is sacred to the world. Your vision, giving you from far beyond all things within the world, looks back on them in a new light. And what you see becomes the healing and salvation of the world. And the valuable and valueless are both perceived and recognized for what they are. And what is worthy of your love receives your love, while nothing to be feared remains. I love that. And so when it says your vision, it means when you're seeing through the eyes of love, of God. Sentence 2, your vision, when you're aligned with the sight of source, giving you from far beyond all things within the world, within the delusion of this world, looks back on them in a new light. And so it's able to perceive the world in a new light. You're able to redefine your experience when you shift from seeing through the ego's lens to love's lens. It changes the whole world, but all you really did was change lenses. Comments or questions?
I just think it's so beautiful. And even the next sentence, and what you see becomes the healing and salvation of the world. Like when I'm able to have that miracle and change my perspective around something from being in a place of fear, being reactionary, to how can I come into this situation to be love, to be light, to be a healing bridge for whoever's in this circumstance. And how I even have the capacity to be able to do that, because there are instances on this journey where I recognize that I don't have the capacity, and it feels and unfolds that way. And then I've had instances where I do have the capacity, and how different it is. Like, what a different experience it is. And I think that that's the cool thing about continuing to walk this journey, that the longer that you walk it, the more that you then become the more that you start to recognize, like, oh yeah, I fall short, and sometimes I'm not able to really show up with love, but there are other times that I do. And so it almost takes away the guilt and the shame that once weighed so heavy when I couldn't show up with love, because I know the love will come back, and I know that I can correct it. Now it's more of the game of like, okay, how do I not fall into it? But even if I do, I know that I'm going to have another opportunity, and I can always show up again. I don't know if that made any sense, but hopefully.
It's beautiful because you can stop yourself from spiraling. You can stop yourself from shame. You can stop yourself from fear with those kinds of thoughts. Like you can always save yourself by remembering.
Yeah, but I remember there's always another way. That you can choose peace instead of this, that you can choose to see through God's eyes instead of the ego's eyes. That you can see through non-judgment instead of judgment. And let your experience show you whose lens you're viewing the world through. Is your experience one of judgment and anger and resentment? Then you're viewing the world through the ego's eyes. Is your experience one of forgiveness and grace and mercy and love and compassion? Then you're seeing through God's eyes, love's eyes. And so in every moment you can choose to see along with God, or in quotes apart from God. It's your choice. And so you decide in each moment how many moments of the day you live in heaven or hell. It's your choice. Heaven or hell in every moment is your choice. There's two doors in every moment. And you walk through the door of heaven, and you walk through the door of hell. It's up to you to decide. And when you do walk through the door of hell unknowingly, that's fine. Just recognize it's a place that you do not belong, that you've been there before, and it offers you nothing you want. And so simply, oh, okay, I'm here. I'm here and stuck in judgment and anger and resentment. Interesting. Okay, I don't belong here. I know that. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to choose for non-judgment, forgiveness, compassion. And guess what? When you do, all of a sudden, light replaces darkness. And all of a sudden, peace replaces pain. And all of a sudden, you're appreciative of the whole day instead of in doubt and fear and shame and guilt. And I was always one simple choice away. Heaven is always one simple choice away. And so, you know what? You're worthy of heaven. You're worthy of the heavenly state of mind. You're worthy of all that heaven brings to you. So choose an alignment with God. Ask God to see. If you're feeling stuck in the darkness, ask to see through God's eyes. Ask to see through love's lens. How would love see this moment right now? And just follow love's lead. I envision like an icebreaker in the North Pole. You know, those big ships that break the ice, and then other ships can follow. That's you. That's all you're doing. Is breaking that ice. And then your whole day just follows that path of light.
Also, I think that I'm learning to laugh at myself when I fall into these like dips. And it happened today because I also woke up like just in a negative headspace. and I was obsessing about some stuff. And it was so funny because like I caught myself and I was like, you're so funny. Like you're being so compulsive about this like situation you're worried about. And there isn't an answer right now. You have to wait. You have to keep doing the research that you need to do to see where you're gonna go. And like relax. And I was like almost laughing at myself because I was able to separate myself from what was happening. And then I lost my keys and I couldn't find them. And then I was like, okay, God, like I need to chill, you know? And I was able to find like laughter, which brought levity. And I think that that's too, like realizing that I take myself so seriously sometimes. Like I am so tightly wound sometimes. And I don't know if that comes from a place of me trying to be in control of everything, which has me wound so tight. But when I'm able to laugh and just be like, oh, I lost my keys, and like, what's going to happen if I don't find them? Okay, then I guess I'm stuck here for a bit, you know, but they're going to appear. And like, just kind of laughing at everything that was going on. And it really shifted. And I found the keys and I, you know, found some peace with my moving situation. And I, you know, and it was just like, whatever. Um, but it was a moment definitely of recognition of like, Christina, you need to chill. You know, it's not that big of a deal. And 5 years from now, it'll be something else that you're obsessing about, you know? And that also puts it into perspective. I have a post-it on that too. Like, will this matter 5 years from now? Because sometimes I'm so wound tight about something, and like 5 years from now, it won't even be something that's probably relevant to my everyday life.
Yeah, and every moment you can choose peace instead of this. No matter what the story we're telling ourselves is.
Christina, I appreciated everything you just said. And as a very tightly wound person to another very tightly wound person, I suspect you are correct that it's a control issue, as it appears to be with me. As I am starting to see all of my areas of resistance and how much I don't want to let things go, despite the fact that I know I want peace. It's, you know, there's a lot of this idea of trusting something else. You know what I mean? Is exciting, and also it is scary, because you're like, well, then I don't have any control. And to say you don't have any control is, in one way, sounds like a big relief, and in another way sounds scary as hell.
And it's interesting because I've been very wound tight with this whole living situation with where I have to move next and where am I going and you know what's going to happen. And it's made me look at a lot of different things, not only like in my finances or when I'm like looking at apartments and where I'm going to move, like asking the right questions. And so it really has been a learning experience. And my sponsor said to me the other day, like, it sounds like you're exactly where God wants you to be. It sounds like you're learning a lot in this process. And even though the controlling side of me wants to know where my next home is, the journey to that is an experience that I'm learning so much in what questions to ask, where to go, being curious about where I maybe want to live. Like there really is a beauty to the journey. And it made me think about different areas in my life where I just want to be at the final destination instead of kind of letting go and enjoying the process of the journey to get to where I'm going, because that can be beautiful too. It doesn't have to be a drag. The one that makes it a drag is my perception of, oh, what a hassle that I have to do this, and that. And like, oh my gosh, I don't know. And like, it's me making the mountains out of molehills and really making it a lot harder than it has to be, instead of like just a journey that who knows where I'll end up, but it's going to get done. I'm going to move. I'm going to have to figure out where I'm going to live unless someone wants to house me, you know? So it'll figure itself out. It always does.
Yeah, it helps you practice trusting in the divine design. Anytime you're in fear or doubt about whatever, or anxious, just use that moment to practice trusting in the divine design more. Practice trusting God more. And when you do, you have peace quicker and quicker.
Yeah, Wendy. And if you want another daughter,
Sweetheart, you are always welcome in my house. not sure you want to see my daughter and I doing battle, but knock yourself out. Come on over. Anytime.
All right, Samir, do you want to read number 7?
Yes.
Okay.
We will not judge today. We will receive but what is given us from judgment made beyond the world. Our practicing today becomes our gift of thankfulness for our release from blindness and from misery. All that we see will but increase our joy because its holiness reflects our own. We stand forgiven in the sight of Christ with all the world forgiven in our choice, in our own. We bless the world as we behold it in the light in which our Savior looks on us and offer it the freedom given us through his forgiving vision, not our own. Wow.
Yeah, imagine sentence number 4. All that we see will but increase our joy. Imagine being able to see the world in that way. Everything increases your joy. Everything increases your appreciation that God is in control, that you and God have co-designed the journey that you're now on. And so if you're seeing your situation with joy and with peace, then know that your mind and God's mind are in control, or you're seeing the world as God sees it. Any comments or questions?
So when we don't judge, we can see the world through God's eyes.
Yeah, non-judgment is a form of seeing the world through God's eyes. Mercy, grace are ways of seeing the world through God's eyes. Compassion, joy, peace are ways of seeing the world through God's eyes. And we only really have God's eyes because the ego is not in truth real. And so we're only seeing the world when we're asleep and dreaming, or we're seeing the world as it truly is, which is the world that God has offered us to experience and enjoy. And all we have to do to see that world is to choose along with the mind of God.
Can I tell you something? That
No.
just, I just,
Yeah,
well, I'm
go
gonna do anyway. Thank you.
ahead.
Nora here. I think Nora, you're here, right? Let me just check. I'm pretty sure she's here. The reason I want to know is because I meant to tell you guys this before. I thought it was so interesting because you just said about seeing something in your dreams. So do you remember the Sunday before last? Nori brought a beautiful baby bird and she was feeding it in there and the kids were holding it and I held it. You remember that?
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Everybody remembers that?
Yeah.
I have an affinity with birds, doves in particular, but all birds. And they've always called to me and I dream about them. Sometimes I haven't had a dream about a bird in a long time, but all my dreams of birds used to be anxiety dreams that I forgot to feed them, that they were dying, that you know what I mean? I would remember from somewhere far away and they were horrible dreams. I would get there too late or almost too late. They would look at me with eyes like, how could you do this to me? That's how birds were always symbolized for me all these years. I am 57, by the way, in case anybody wants to know. And I had probably been having those dreams since I was 18 or 19 years old. After Nori brought that bird, and I love birds. I have 2 parakeets right now that you probably hear in the background. I've kept birds off and on all my life. After Nori brought that bird, I had a dream. And in the dream, James, you had your hand out and my hand was next to yours, the way that 2 hands would be joined together. You know what I mean? Like holding something. And the bird was in our hand. We were both holding that one bird. And it was a beautiful dream. It was only for a second. It's all I remember of the entire, whatever else was in there. I don't have any memory of anything else except that beautiful little bird was sitting in both of our hands. And so I wanted to say it because it's the first time that I can remember having this kind of a beautiful dream. And I now, in thinking about it and looking at the dove on your shirt, and you know what I mean, and reading what we've read, I think it's, a symbol of God being there. And maybe because you were holding it with me, that you have helped me get closer to that.
That's beautiful. I love it.
Everybody, I write down everything you say, so yeah.
That's because you're writing that with the Holy Spirit, so it's not me.
Yeah, well, Holy Spirit through you. I already told you that that's the way I experience God, is through people.
Right.
Nori and the bird. Nori, I haven't heard you say anything tonight, but I want to thank you for not only telling me about the book, The Disappearance of the Universe, but you are also a beautiful light. But you brought that bird in, and it was something special.
Thank you. Thank you. At least it was helpful. That's beautiful. It's really beautiful. And I wanted to say that the class tonight has been amazing. I'm sorry, I'm working and at the same time listening to it. And most of the time I've been truly, immersed with the conversation that you guys have been having. James, you are amazing. You're amazing. Samir, you are just pure love. And Christina, your wisdom is incredible. You probably, I don't know, maybe 30 something, but let me tell you, your soul is definitely an old soul. And Wendy, you are incredible. Please give credit to yourself. You truly deserve to take a lot of credit. You are definitely not the same person that I met the first day in that class. You have changed so much, so much, that I bet you sometimes you look at yourself in your mirror and probably you don't recognize yourself. And this is just the beginning, love, and you are doing great. You are doing amazing, amazing. Just keep at it. This is just, if something that I have learned from the book of, from the Course of Miracles, is just be patient with yourself. And this is a process of a lifetime. And probably the way I see it, it's a process of many lifetimes. And it is a beautiful one, because every time you discover a new miracle in your life, your heart fills with so much love, compassion, and understanding, not only for you, for everyone that God puts in front of you, because you realize that they're just beautiful mirrors that are helping you recognize how beautiful you truly are. Please give yourself credit. You're doing amazing, amazing.
Amen.
Thank you, Nori. I really appreciate you. I appreciate everybody.
I know, I love you guys. We love you too, guys. I adore each and every one of you. And
We're
and
such
the whole
cheese
class.
balls.
Little group hug.
Yeah.
Well, it is an amazing thing to feel like you found your people,
Yes.
And don't forget Nathan.
I know, she's beautiful.
The wise dog.
Oh, he's really wise. He is.
Wow.
All right, I'll read number 8. Open the curtain in your practicing by merely letting go all things you think you want. All things by you means the ego. All things the ego wants, thinks it wants. Your trifling treasures put away, and leave a clean and open space within your mind where Christ or God can come and offer you treasures of salvation, of freedom. That means freedom from the ego's mindset. He has need of your most holy mind to save the world. Is not this purpose worthy to be yours? Is not God's vision worthy to be thought above the world's unsatisfying goals? Yeah, and so we talk about always what we want and what we really want. And so this paragraph is basically saying that the ego always answers first and loudest, and it's always going to tell you what it wants. And the ego's main tools are judgment and all of those expressions. And so the ego's going to tell you what you want, but what do you really want? You really want is to see along with the sight of God. Is God's vision worthy to be sought above the world's unsatisfying goals? And so the ego's is search but do not find. And so whatever the ego's goals are, it's always having you search for them, but you're never going to be satisfied by them. No matter how many times you find its trifling treasures. And so one way to get there is to I always ask for humility, and you make no decisions by yourself, and you invite God to make a decision for you, because God and your highest will are one. And so when God is deciding for you, your highest will is deciding for you. Comments or questions? Okay, Christina, you want to finish up with paragraph number 9?
Yeah. Let not today slip by without the gifts it holds for you receiving your consent and your acceptance. We can change the world if you acknowledge them. You may not see the value your acceptance gives the world, but this you surely want. You can exchange all suffering for joy this very day. Practice in earnest, and the gift is yours. Would God deceive you? Can his promise fail? Can you withhold so little when his hand holds out complete salvation to his son?
That is beautiful. Sentence number 4, you can exchange all suffering for joy this very day. Wow. And so all you have to do is have a little willingness to exchange your suffering for God's joy. By reminding yourself that you're worthy of that joy. And God wants you to experience that joy, because that joy makes you the light of the world that God created you to be. And so you become a beacon of joy for others. When you choose forgiveness, you become a beacon of forgiveness for others. When you choose compassion, you become a beacon of compassion for others. And you light the way back to them, to their true state of mind, to where they truly belong, which is in alignment with the mind of God.
I have a question,
Yes.
because why not throw a wrench in at the very last second? What? I do not understand. Like, those questions at the end throw me. Because the first part is said with great authority. This is true. You can exchange all your suffering. You know what I mean? But when those questions, especially that one, would God deceive you? I feel like it's like, let me test your faith here. You know what I mean? Like, it reminds me of okay, so I'm not biblically incredibly literate in the New Testament, but enough of it. I know there's a place where Paul says something like, if I'm wrong about this, I'm wrong about everything. Either this is true or nothing is true. And like, that leaves the door wide open for doubt. Well, what if that isn't true? Well, what if you can get deceived? I don't understand this form of teaching. And I'm asking you about it because, well, partly because, I have an academic mind, and partly because I'm trying to understand what that means. Why, when other things are written so authoritatively, like, this is true, this is how it is. Why is that put in there like that? If you know.
Well, I was just asking you if the false can be true. Do you really think that the false, the ego, all the ego has offered you can be true? Or is the truth only true? Would God deceive you? Would truth deceive you? Would truth not be true? Would truth not tell you the truth? Can his promise fail? Or can perfection fail? Perfection can only be perfect, so it cannot fail. God is only love. God is only truth, so God cannot deceive you. So it's just inviting you to remember what the truth is. Would God deceive you? Would truth deceive you? No, truth does not deceive you. Truth does not deceive. Can his promise fail? No, it can't fail. Because perfection cannot fail. Can you withhold so little? Can you withhold any delusion that you have? Any false concept you have of yourself or others? When his hand holds out complete salvation, complete freedom to his son. And so God is offering you that peace that you so want, but you are choosing not to accept it. And so whatever it is that you're choosing, that you think it's so big, it's so little. All that darkness is so little because it's not true. Just a little fantasy fairy tale that all you have to do is close the book on it and then accept his truth as true, his love as true. Be one, choose to be one with the mind of God and see only truth as true. Choose to see through his loving eyes instead of the ego's mindset and delusions.
Well, my newfound faith will be tested because I will be getting on an airplane on Monday, and I am exceedingly afraid to fly. So we'll see how calm I feel.
Well, that's a perfect time to, okay, you're feeling afraid in the plane. Okay, when a fear comes, you don't want to dive into that fear. You want to use that fear to practice trusting God more. And
That's
so,
what I'm trying to do.
yeah, so do that. Whenever that fear comes whispering in your ear, say no, stop it, consciously stop that fear-based thinking, and use those moments to say, okay, God, I'll place this trip in your hands. And when you do, you'll have peace. You'll get peace. And when you're not getting peace because of turbulence or whatever little thing is going on, just invite God in. Oh, turbulence, perfect time to practice trusting God more.
I will
And
probably be telling myself it all ends the same and it all ends okay, because that is what I'm taking from this. I think my fear of death has receded quite a bit since I started this course. So we'll see what happens. I'll let you know.
all right, beautiful. Any final comments or questions before we close?
Oh,
Just a-
the Monday class, can we read sections from your book?
Sure. Sure, we can do that.
That's a
You
good
explained
idea.
on ego, and it'd be great if we read it together.
Okay. Okay. Christina, you were saying something?
No, I didn't say anything.
Okay.
No. I was saying that
Okay.
Samir's idea, I love it. I think is a great idea to read from your book, James.
All right. We
I
shall.
do, but I'm gonna be sad to miss it. I'm not, I'm gonna be gone. So
Okay.
guys.
The next day it's put on YouTube the next day, so you can check out what we read. All right, folks. Well, thank you very much for your time. And God willing, we'll see each other, I think, on Sunday, right?
Yay!
Thank you for everything, all of you. I love all of you guys.
All right. I
Me
love you,
too. I
little.
feel like you
Love
guys
you
are my
too.
jam bam.
I love your little bird dream, Wendy. It was lovely.
It was a good
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Take care. Good night.